Hi, fifth graders. Welcome back to Persuasive Writing. Today is session 6, and we will be focusing on finding evidence to support our second reason or our second body paragraph. So today's teaching point is thinking through both sides of an argument in order to select valuable evidence. Now remember, another name for a persuasive essay is an argumentative essay. And we know that when we are arguing about a topic or debating a topic, there are two sides to every story or two sides to every topic, okay? And before you get into the nitty-gritty of your evidence, I want you to think about both sides of the argument in order to select the evidence that is going to help you prove your point best. And we'll get into that more in just a bit. So as I said, today we're working on our evidence for reason number 2. So at this point, you should have reason number 1 completed as well as your 3 pieces of evidence to support your first reason. So today we're working here on our 3 pieces of evidence to support reason number 2. So while you're researching, I want you to be thinking outside of the box, okay? Try not to be too repetitive with your reasons and your evidence. So when you're writing your evidence or your reasons, you need to be thinking, okay, is this a new point or is this something I've said before, just reworded a little bit differently? Because the more you can touch on, the more topics you can include, and the more evidence you can include from a variety of different areas, the more convincing you're going to be to your audience, okay? If you're saying the same thing over and over again, you're not likely to convince your audience. Whereas if you are touching on all different topics and you're putting out there information about all those topics and how your stance is accurate in all of those areas, you are much more likely to convince your audience to agree with you, okay? Now, what I mean by repetitive, here's an example. These would be very similar reasons. So if you were to say sports keep kids healthy, okay, this is true. Now, some people may also say playing sports provides physical activity. Now, even though the wording is different, we're essentially saying the same thing, okay? And this is what we want to avoid. We want to avoid saying the same thing in different words. We're trying to broaden our horizons and reach all different areas. So try not to reword things in a different way because it'll get a little bit repetitive throughout your paper, okay? Now, this is just a chart that we have seen before in our last session, and it's something to keep in mind when you are researching your evidence, things to think about. Why did I include this evidence? How does this evidence relate back to my claim? What makes this particular quote or statistic so important? And how is this evidence changing my thinking, or how will it change your audience's thoughts? So while you're writing or while you're finding your evidence, you need to be strategizing, okay? So writing a persuasive essay is actually a lot like playing a video game. In order to be successful, you need to strategize and think of how you are going to play this out, okay? So what are your steps going to be in order for you to successfully convince your audience? What points do you need to touch on? So think about a video game. Before you can be successful in the end, you may need to pass certain levels. Well, in order to convince your audience to agree with your point, you need to touch on specific points within your paper. So that's what you need to be thinking about as you're finding your evidence. In order to successfully convince my audience, what points do I need to make sure I include in my paper, okay? So let's touch on today's teaching point. Thinking through both sides of the argument, okay? Remember, you're trying to convince someone who does not agree with you. Your audience is not going to be somebody who already agrees with you. So for instance, if you're writing about all people should have pets, you're writing to people who disagree with you and think that people do not need to have pets or kids do not need to have pets. Because what would be the point in writing an argumentative essay to somebody who already agrees with you? Okay, so your audience is somebody who disagrees with you. So while you're writing, you need to think through both sides of the argument. Think about your side of the argument and the other side. What might somebody say if they disagree with you? That's what you need to ask yourself before you start thinking about where you're going to go with your strategy and where you're going to go with your evidence. So for example, my topic is kids should play sports. My second reason, which is what I'm working on today, is that playing sports improves kids' physical health. Now, I need to think about the other side of the argument. What might somebody say if they disagreed with me? Well, someone who disagrees with this might say that kids are already healthy. They don't need more physical activity. Now that I've thought about that, I need to think about what I could talk about in my paper or in my paragraph that would prove them wrong. So let me think about this. Kids are already healthy. That's what someone might say if they disagree with me. So I need to prove that wrong. Well, not all kids are healthy. Maybe I could talk about obesity rates within children. So I think that's what I'm going to talk about for my first piece of evidence. They might also say that sports do not improve physical fitness. So I think in my paragraph, I would like to prove that wrong as well. I'm anticipating what their arguments might be, and then I'm going to try to debunk those points that they're making, and I'm going to try to prove them wrong. So in order to prove them wrong, I need to show them that sports do improve physical fitness. So now I have a better idea of what my evidence is going to be focused on. First, I've decided, now this is part of my strategy in order to be successful with my paragraph, I've decided that my plan is to first talk about the fact that there is an issue nationally or globally, depending on what evidence I find, there is an issue with childhood physical health. I need to prove that there is an issue with that. Then I'm going to prove that physical fitness and playing sports can fix that problem. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to my boxes and bullets, and I have scrolled down. I've already completed reason number 1, and I'm going to scroll down to reason number 2. Now I see that my second reason is sports improve kids' physical health. So I need to find some evidence to support that. Now I said I first want to prove that there is an issue with childhood obesity. So I've gone to Kids Safe Search and I've searched for childhood obesity. Now I'm going to look for mayoclinic.org. I remember that .org is a reputable source. Let's see, childhood obesity facts, 10 surprising facts about childhood obesity. This was written in 2014, so it's reasonably recent. So, and it also says that it's from a .org, which is a reliable source. So I'm going to click on that and see what I find. All right, 10 surprising facts. I'm going to skim through. The obesity rate in children has nearly tripled since 1963. Wow, that's a surprising statistic. It's very specific, and it also proves that there is an issue, a growing issue with childhood obesity. So I think I'm going to keep that in mind as I'm reading. This scary statistic, not only are kids becoming more unhealthy, they're growing up to become unhealthy adults. Okay, so 2% of children eat a healthy diet. Childhood obesity could reduce life expectancy. 25% of children don't participate in a free time physical activity. That's a piece of evidence that I could use. It's a statistic and it has to do with physical activity. So here I've found already 2 pieces of information that I could use as evidence to support my reasons. So the obesity rate in children has nearly tripled since 1963. The obesity rate has nearly tripled 1963. And I also found on here that not only are kids becoming unhealthy, they're growing up to become unhealthy adults. So I'm going to include that in there as well. Not only are kids unhealthy, but they are growing up to be unhealthy adults. That piece of information is very important because it shows that there is a problem going on with kids' physical health. Now, I can't forget to include my source, so I'm going to copy my address or my URL. I'm going to put that in my source, okay? Now, writing to think. Why is this important? This shows that there is a growing problem regarding childhood health. Okay. All right, now I might change that up when I go back and write, but that's good for now. Now I said for my second piece of evidence, I was going to talk about the fact that sports improve physical fitness. So I have to figure out how to prove that. So I'm going to look for evidence to support the fact that sports improve physical fitness. So I'm actually just going to search sports improve physical health and see what I come up with. Effect of sports on general health, 6 reasons why they're good, health benefits. Okay, let's check out one of these websites. So health benefits of sports and physical activity. No research. Okay, so let's try physical activity and psychosocial health. That has to do with the brain, healthy lifestyle. All right, so I'm not seeing much on here that I'd like to use. Let me try going back. Sometimes you might come across a website that's not necessarily going to be very beneficial to you, and that's okay. All right, so let's see. Effects of sports on general health. Sports have an immense impact on a person's daily life and health. They do not just give you an interesting routine, but also a healthy body. Getting indulged improves your heart function, reduces the risk of diabetes, controls blood sugar, and lowers tension and stress level. It also brings positive energy, discipline, and other commendable qualities to your life. It strengthens your body and also improves your muscle memory and muscle condition. They recommend taking part in sports. These countless benefits. That's very interesting. Lots of information about how it specifically helps with physical health. Problem is faced by millions. Being obese increases the risk. Okay, so we talked about obesity already. I'm going to avoid being repetitive. Lower hypertension, lower cholesterol levels, better blood circulation, stronger immunity, stronger bones, stronger mind. Okay, so from this article, I'm definitely going to take this information right here. Now, when I go to write my paper, I'm definitely going to paraphrase this, so it's not actually, what I'm going to do is I'm going to paste it without formatting so that it matches my, all right. Improves heart function. Now I have to remember to copy my source. Okay. And writing to think. This proves that playing sports has a positive impact on many different areas of a child's health. So now I'm going to go in and find a third piece of evidence that supports this reasoning as well. So I need to find another piece of evidence that shows that playing sports improves health. But you know what I'm thinking? As I go along, I'm thinking I might want to go back to that website I was on under childhood obesity because I found an interesting fact that only 25% of children don't participate in a free time physical activity. I think that's important to include because this proves that we need more kids to participate. So you know what I'm going to do? I'm actually going to cut and paste this because I think in my strategy, I think it would be more effective to first say that there is a growing problem with childhood obesity. Then I'm going to prove that not many kids participate in sports, and then I'm going to prove that sports are very helpful. 25% of children do not participate in free time physical activity. Okay, it's the same source that I used for my first one, so I'm going to copy and paste that, and then writing to think. This shows that more kids should be participating in physical fitness. Okay, so now I have 3 pieces of evidence. I've thought through the strategy of how my evidence is going to be played out. First, I show that there's a problem. Then I show that the problem is stretching and continuing and that we need to fix it. Then I show how we can fix it by supporting my reason that sports improve kids' physical health. So that is your goal for today. Your task is to complete the boxes and bullets for reason number 2. You should be filling in 3 pieces of evidence, your sources, and the writing to think. Please do not go ahead. I've been noticing that some of you have been, and as we go through these lessons, I'll be including some more specific instructions, so please just work on reason number 2 for today. Okay? Let us know if you have any questions.